Yes, welcome to today's topic, that's bearing and distance. Uh, Directions is always found using a compass point. This is a compass point which has 8 points, whereby we have the main 4 points of the compass, which are the north, the south, the east, and the west. This is the east side and this is the west side. Those are the 4 main points. Then, which includes some other, we call them secondary points, like the northeast, the southeast, the southwest, the north, and the northwest. Those are secondary points. You realize that each angle formed at the center of a compass is the angle between the north and the east, which is 90 degrees. We talk about between the north and the east. The angle between the north and the east, the angle that will be formed here is 90 degrees. We shall talk about 2 types of pairing. That is the compass pairing and the true pairing. When we talk about the compass pairing, it is a pairing that is measured either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Clockwise or anti-clockwise. Clockwise or anti-clockwise. That one is called a compass pairing. And a compass pairing is measured from the north or from the south. You can measure compass pairing from the north clockwise or from the north anti-clockwise, from the south anti-clockwise, or from the south clockwise. The angle that will be formed, the angle that is formed for a compass pairing is always acute. So we cannot have north, like for instance, example here is north 45 degrees west. We can't have north 110 degrees west. That will not be, that's a 3-digit figure, that is not acute, and therefore that is not a compass pairing. A compass pairing should be less than 90, 89 and below. When we talk about a true pairing now, is a 3-figure pairing measured clockwise from true north. From true north. So for this one, for a true pairing, it must be measured from the north always. From the north always, and in the clockwise direction. You cannot measure in another way apart from the north and in a clockwise direction. So, and it's 3-digit figure. If you measure from the north, your protractor is here, is lying here, the horizontal line lying the vertical, and then we also a vertical line here. So you read from here north, you read 45 degrees. 45 degrees. We could write it as 0.45 degrees. We will write it as 0.45 degrees. So you always better write 0.45 degrees for those acute angles. So that for 2-digit figures, that is, to make it a true pairing. Okay, you might find some other cases just with 45 degrees without the 0, because the 0 is somehow insignificant, but it's good to write 0. Okay, I want to use this figure that I've drawn using GeoGebra software to explain the comparison between true pairing and compass pairing. I shall be sliding here to show the changes in true pairing and compass pairing in the four quadrants. So I want to start with the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, both true pairing and compass pairing are measured from the north. So all the angles here are acute angles, and therefore they are similar. True pairing and compass pairing in the first quadrant, you realize they are equal. This is the first quadrant. We call this the second quadrant, the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. Let me slide a bit in the same quadrant. You realize that they will be similar. If I slide this a bit in that same quadrant, this is 80 degrees. This color green representing the true pairing, and the red here representing the compass pairing. You measure this one, this 80 degrees, the same 80 degrees from the north, 80 degrees east is the compass pairing. Compass true pairing, you include a 0, although it is insignificant. That's why most cases you find it might be written just as 80 degrees without a 0. But it's so essential to make it a tree figure so that it is 080 degrees. Now, if you slide the second quadrant, this angle here, from here up to this point here, we call it the true pairing. The true pairing is 1/4 in this case. In this quadrant, compass pairing is measured from the south, because we said compass pairing is measured in both clockwise and anti-clockwise, and from both the south and the north. So in this quadrant is measured from the south this way. In this quadrant is measured from the south to the east. In this quadrant is also measured from the south to the west. In this quadrant it will be measured from the north to the west. This quadrant, they are measured from the north. That's the compass pairing in the clockwise and the anti-clockwise direction. Now, you realize here our compass pairing will be south, this 40 degrees, east, because it's towards the east, and the true pairing is 140 degrees. So the compass pairing can be 180 minus the true pairing, which is 140, to get this 40 degrees. Because the whole of this angle up to this line is a straight line, this angle of a straight line up to this point is 180 degrees. So you minus the 140, which is the true pairing, you find this angle, the compass pairing will be 40, and therefore it will be south 40 degrees east. If I move to the next quadrant, here, for instance, let me use that angle. This green color, this is showing the true pairing up to this point, is 250 degrees. And 250 degrees, you realize, it is this 180 up to this point, and from here to here is 70 degrees. The 70 degrees from here up to this point is 70 degrees, and the 70 degrees will be our compass pairing. So our compass pairing is south 70 degrees to the west. To get the compass pairing, it can be the one up to this point is 180 degrees, and up to this point is 270 degrees. So 270 degrees minus 200 and okay, this is 200 and 180 degrees. You add 70 degrees, you get 250 degrees, which is your true pairing. And the compass pairing, you measure this angle south 70. Now you find it 70 degrees west. If you move this other side, this the second quadrant, you will be measuring your compass pairing from the north this way. So if I slide it a bit up to that, you realize this angle here is just 25 degrees. This angle here from the north, from here to here, it is 25 degrees. And therefore, my compass pairing will be north, this 25 degrees here, to the west. North, 25 degrees west. And the true pairing will be from this point, because it is always measured clockwise from the north. It is clockwise from the north always. So you measure up to this point this way, it will be 335 degrees. Or it can be, somebody can say, it's 360 degrees minus 25 to get 335 degrees. Or in simple terms, it is up to this point is 180. You measure this, but you shall have measured this angle, so there is no need. So it is 335 degrees. That is 360 minus 25, which is 335 degrees, is my true pairing. That is how you convert a true pairing to compass pairing. So if you are given in an exam situation or in whichever situation, you are given a true pairing like this one, you are asked to convert it into a compass pairing. The first thing is to just sketch the north, the east, the west, and whatever, a small one, a very small one, and then you are able here to tell which quadrant the 335 degrees lies. Remember, this 335 degrees, you measure it clockwise direction. So you already know up to this is 180, up to this is 270. So 335 can lie in this quadrant. So if you lie, it lies in this quadrant, you just put a line in that quadrant, then you assume this is 335 up to this point, and you know your compass bearing will be measured from the north in this quadrant, so it will be the angle remaining here, which is to make 360, which is now 360 minus 335 degrees to get 25 degrees. So it will be north 25 degrees west. So that is how you convert. Or even if you are given this one, to convert to T's, you first of all go straight to that quadrant, north, you put your protractor here and measure 25 degrees. You measure your 25 degrees here. That is in case you are doing the actual thing, not a sketch. So your protractor is here. Remember, the horizontal will be here, the horizontal will be and the vertical here, and then you measure from there. The zero will be around here. You measure the zero, you read from this side this way until you find your 25 here. So that is where you put your dot. Then you draw that line. You shall have drawn the 25 degrees from the north, 25 degrees to the west. And then if you realize that is 25 degrees, and therefore the remaining from here to this is your true pairing. So your true pairing will be 360 minus 25, which gives you 335 degrees. That is a simple way of conversion from true pairing to compass pairing and vice versa. Do some examples to make the understanding better. So example number one is from town P, a town Q is 60 kilometers away on a pairing of south 80 degrees east. A third town R is 100 kilometers from P on the pairing south 40 degrees west. By scale drawing, show the locations of the towns. But B, find the true and the compass pairing of R from Q, and you find the distance of Q from R. So the first thing you do here is you make a sketch of the whole thing. So a sketch is that from P, so you start with your point P here, and then from P, a town Q is 60 kilometers away on a pairing of S, south 80 degrees east. So it is south from P here, south 80 degrees towards the east. So you have your line here. So you make a Q, a point Q here, 60 kilometers up to here, 60 kilometers. And then you also have another point R, that is another town R that is 100 kilometers from P on a pairing of S 40 degrees west. It's also from P, which is south 40 degrees west. So it is south from here to here 40 degrees. You make a line, then you make another point here. This is 100 kilometers. So that is your sketch. You use your sketch now to draw the actual diagram. It must resemble this one, but which is now the actual. Now, you think of an appropriate scale that will not give you problems, that can't give you a very small figure that will stress you in measuring the angles, or a very big one that will stretch outside the paper. So, like I thought of this scale that 1 centimeter to represent 20 kilometers, because for 100 kilometers would be 5 centimeters, and for 60 kilometers would be 3 centimeters, which are not too big. Now, my starting point is P. I draw a knotting here. Then by drawing the knotting here and locate point P, I want to move from P to, first of all, Q, because I'm told from P to Q, it is south 80 degrees to the east. This is the east side. So I have my protractor here, my horizontal, the horizontal part of the protractor that lies here, and then the vertical part, the 90 of the protractor lies here, the middle of course, and then you read, in this case, from south, you read anti-clockwise, this side. You read from here, you are 0, you read the 0 that is on this side, the anti-clockwise side. From here, you read to this point. Where you find the 80, you put a dot there, and then you join a line with a ruler, a straight line there. And then you measure 3 centimeters from this point by using the ruler, 3 centimeters from this point up to this point, then you get a nothing there. That gives you a point Q. And then we also need to locate point R. And we are told that point R is south 40 degrees west. So we need to have our protractor here. Then in this case, we are reading clockwise from this point. So the horizontal lies here. The horizontal lies here and the vertical there. And the vertical lies of the protractor lies at this point. So you read from this point, from this side, towards that side, clockwise, you read 40. Where 40 is, you put a dot there, then you join a straight line. After joining a straight line, you measure your 5 centimeters, then you locate your R at this point, you make a nothing there. That's your point R. From there, you can join from Q to R. You can join from Q to R. After that, you are able now, you've located all of the points and you've got your marks, which might be 4 marks, 5 marks for locating the points, the towns. And then from there, you answer the question of finding the true and the compass pairing. The true pairing of R from Q, that means your point of reference is Q. You go to Q and locate R from Q by finding a true pairing and a compass pairing. A true pairing will be from the north clockwise. That means it will be from here to here, which is 180, plus you measure this angle here, which gives you 60, because you put your protractor here, you measure, you read in the clockwise direction. Up to this point, you'll find it is 60. So it is 180 plus 60, which gives you 240 degrees. We usually give plus or minus 1 degree and sometimes 2 degrees. So the compass pairing will be south 60 degrees, this angle that you have measured here, 60 degrees to the west. So it will be, compass pairing will be south 60 degrees west. And the distance of Q from R, you just come with your ruler and measure this distance, you'll find it is 7 centimeters. The 7 centimeters you don't leave at that point. Because you used the scale, ensure you convert to kilometers because we were dealing with kilometers. So it is 7 centimeters that you found times the scale that you used. In this case I used 20, so it's 7 times 20, which gives you 140 kilometers. It is usually plus or minus 1 kilometer. Example number 2. A port B is on a pairing 80 degrees from a port A and a distance of 95 kilometers. A submarine is stationed at a port D, which is on a pairing of 200 degrees from A and a distance of 124 kilometers from B. A ship leaves B and moves directly southwards to an island P, which is on a bearing of 140 degrees from A. The submarine at D, on realizing that the ship was heading to the island P, decides to head straight for the island to intercept the ship. Using a scale of 1 centimeter to represent 10 kilometers, make a scale drawing showing the relative positions of A, B, D, and P. Remember, in this question, unlike the first question, is that we are given a specific scale to use. 1 centimeter to represent 10 kilometers. You must use this scale. You have no option. you cannot choose your other scale, because if you choose your other scale, you score 0. You must use the scale given. When you are given a scale, you have no option. You must use that same scale that you are given. So in this case, I will use the same scale given. That means my 95 kilometers will be 95 divided by 10, which gives me 9.5 centimeters. And my 124 kilometer will be 124 divided by 10. That will give me 12.4 centimeters. So I'll have to measure those centimeters in that case. Now, the first thing you have to do is to make a sketch. Of course, I did not make in my case here, but the first thing is to make a sketch. From making a sketch, like I have shown you from the above example, then you now go to drawing the actual things. And the actual things in this case, remember the first thing to do is to locate B from, because we are told it is from A. From port A. So we want to locate port B from port A. So your starting point will be A. You come and make a nothing here, or with that point. So if I make a nothing, then I need to measure 80 degrees for me to locate B. 80 degrees, that is a true pairing, that is clockwise. So I have to measure from here up to here. My H, I'll find it is somewhere there. I put a dot. After putting a dot, if you had put your protractor here, then you measure 80 degrees, you put a dot, then you draw a straight line. After drawing a straight line, remember it is 95 kilometers away, divided by 10 gives you 9.5. So you measure from this point a 9.5 centimeter that will be at this point. So you get your nothing there. The 9.5 is this point centimeter, you get your nothing there. After getting your nothing there, you've located your point B. You've located your port B. Then we are told that a submarine is stationed at port D. The submarine is at port D, which is on a pairing of 200 from A. Now again we go back to A and locate D. We go back to A and locate D by measuring 200 degrees. 200 degrees. So 200 degrees for us to measure, we first of all know 180 degrees. 180 degrees is from here up to here. The straight line here. This is a straight line, 180 degrees. So what we do, we measure now. We put our protractor here and measure clockwise 20 degrees to make 200. So you measure 20 degrees, then you draw a straight line. After measuring 20 degrees, you draw a straight line. Then you draw a straight line, and we are told, are we given the distance? And a distance of 124 kilometers from B. It is 124 kilometers from B, not from A. So don't measure here. Don't measure 12.4 centimeters here. You need to come back to B and try to locate. You can easily use your pair of compass now. With your pair of compass with a pencil, just point, let the sharp point of the pair of compass point at B. Of course, after measuring using it the 12.4 centimeter, you point here, you've measured in a ruler, then you point here, you stretch your pair of compass where it touches the line, because it cannot touch at this point, it cannot touch at this point, it cannot touch at this point, it cannot touch anywhere. You realize it will specifically touch at a specific point. In my case, it touched at this point. After touching at this point, you now join that line with the dot where it touched. After joining, now that is your point D. You draw nothing there and locate your point D. Now, after that, we are told that a ship leaves B and moves directly southwards. Now, there is a ship that moved directly southwards. So just the nothing that you do here, stretch it downwards with a ruler, that line direct downwards. And then we are told towards P. And then we are told which is on a pairing of 140 from A. So from A, come A and to locate B, come A here to locate our P, you come at A, you measure 140 degrees. 140 degrees, you have your protractor here, you measure 140 degrees up to this point, then you draw that straight line. Where it meets the vertical line that you stretched from point B, it is our P island. It is our P island. This point now is our P island. Then we are told that the submarine at D, on realizing that the ship was heading to the island P, decided to head straight for the island to intercept the ship. So it moved straight from D, the submarine, moved direct to P. So you join from this line to this line, P, you join direct. Using a scale of 1 centimeter to represent that, make a scale of, that is, you make a scale drawing showing the relative positions of A, B, D, and B. We have located our A, our B, our D, and our P. We are able to locate it, and now you are able to score your 5 marks. Part B of it is that we find the distance A to D. We want to measure the distance from A to D. Just use your ruler and measure A to D. We will find it is 4.6 centimeters. We multiply by the scale that we were given, which is 10 kilometers. We will get at 46 kilometers, and it is usually plus or minus 1 kilometers. And then, part C, we are told that we find the pairing of the submarine from the ship when the ship was setting off from B. The submarine was at D, remember, the submarine was at D. So we want to locate D from B, because we are told when it was setting off from B. So we locate D from B. Now we already know this is 180 degrees. Now what we do, we measure this angle. Remember this angle, we shall measure it clockwise from here, clockwise. So your protractor will be here. Then you measure a vertical there, you read from here clockwise, you locate this one, you find it is 60 degrees. So the 60 degrees plus 180 degrees gives you 240 degrees. So the pairing is 240 degrees, which is the true pairing. And the equivalent compass pairing will be south, the south, 60 degrees that we measured here, west, south, 60 degrees west, because it's towards the west. It is towards the west. So it is 60 south, 60 degrees west. That is the equivalent compass pairing. Plus or minus either 1 degree or sometimes 2 degrees. Then we are asked that we find the pairing of the island P from D. We also find P from D. So we go to D and locate P. We just have your protractor here. Your protractor here. Remember, you shall have the horizontal here and the vertical line there. You read clockwise. Remember, we have a 90 there. So if you read, you'll find 122 degrees at that point. You'll find 122 degrees. Somebody can write 122 degrees, and it's good to write both answers. Or when you are not told either true or compass pairing, it's good to give both. So it is 122 degrees, or somebody can say this angle here, remember it's 180 minus 122 gives you 58. So this angle here is from the south, 58 degrees towards the east. So it is either 122 degrees or south, 58 degrees towards the east. So that is the answer, the pairing of P from D. You've located P from D using true pairing or compass pairing. That is the end of the examples that I was giving. I would like you to go and do more examples for your better understanding. You can always contact me through 0724 595 589 for any query. Remember to subscribe for me. Always, from Mwalimu Ogeke. Thank you for listening to me.